Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another exciting podcast episode, another Minecraft episode. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm super stoked to be back. I've had lots of high rolling guests here. We got some more A-teamers coming up over the next 5 or 6 weeks ago. I mean, just really amazing people doing amazing things, and so you have that to look forward to. And today I'd like to talk about, because it's such a good time to talk about it, towards, well, at least in New England anyway. We're in northern Vermont, as most of you know, a thumbnail below Santa. And so the end of March and definitely April, we call mud season here. And Burlington, Vermont, we're actually out in the country more than Burlington. Burlington's where I teach at Champlain College, of course, but we're way out there. But Burlington, I heard on the radio some years ago. The Burlington, of course, you could look it up, I suppose. Burlington is second to Seattle for the cloudiest cities in the United States. So, personally, our family loves it here because we're big winter people. Though there's something to be said for sort of consistent grayness. There's even such thing as the happy lamps, as you know. Like, I think Canada came up with those. I'm pretty sure, and it's a real thing. And so people, some people battle seasonal affective mood, shifts. I'm not going to say disorder because I don't like the word, for one, and also because a person doesn't have to be diagnosed to have a dose of it. You can be more affected by the clouds and the gloom maybe than somebody else without having a full-blown something. So it's important to be inclusive. So where I'm going with all that is actually how easy it can be, at least in New England. And I think it really anywhere, it just might be the seasons a little different. Like even in the tropical, islands and other places, they have rainy seasons too. And everybody's got some sort of winter. Even Hawaii, even though it's shorter, because Hawaii is certainly gorgeous. But the point is, there are times when all of us can very easily slide into a rut. And there are all kinds of ruts. There are cooking ruts. There are clothing ruts. There are music ruts. There are all kinds of different ruts. So today, I'm going to focus mostly on clothing ruts. So I might dip into a couple other things. I know, I definitely, personally, I definitely slide into a cooking rut in the winter. I do. I make good stuff, I think. I'm certainly not saying I'm a gourmet, but I like to make, again, in northern Vermont, I like to make turkeys. I make turkeys 4 or 5 times through the fall and winter, not just Thanksgiving. I make homemade soup out of them, and it's all super delicious. It's just a lot of the same. And of course, we're grateful. I'm not saying we're not grateful. I'm just saying that I sometimes think, wow, I should really change it up. Same chicken dishes, whatever. Because a lot of times when we come home from work, and both my husband and I, work a lot. We both love what we do, so we don't think of it that way. But the point is, you come in from a long day, we often do what's easy, right? We often, same. You have the leftovers in the fridge, or you got that quick 30-minute chicken dish you can do, whatever. So that's that rut. And we also, where I'm going with this, is we often wear a lot of the same things. And Wayne Dyer talks about it with the 80-20 rule. We tend to not use about 80% of what we have in general. We just don't use it. So most of us wear about 20% of what we have. And so the point with that is we might as well give away, throw away, somehow move along the other 80% because it's not of use to us. It's not of use to us. And so I want to kind of focus on clothing today, because, Minecraft is also largely about being and finding alignment and remaining in alignment with your authentic self. That's huge. So all these things we do with rewiring the mind for, we're more mindful, we're more grateful. I've talked a lot about purpose and passion and all that because it's all about being alignment with your highest vibe self. And I was reading through Sarah Von Bresnick. I haven't dipped into her in a while now, and she's the author of Simple Abundance, which is all about authenticity. And so today, when I want to talk about ruts, and specifically clothing ruts, I was reading earlier, kind of just dipped right in there, and I love how she talks about what we wear is an outward expression of who we are. And we can get a lot from how somebody dresses, which is so sort of ties into when we're being in a clothing rut. Are we really tapping into our own authentic expression? And I really love this whole topic. Anybody who sees me at Champlain knows that I dress very colorfully. I've got all kinds of, I got my favorite rock star pants. Usually wear those on the first day of school. They've got guitars all over them. I've got all kinds of funky stuff. And when I was in Japan last week, I bought some super cool pink loud. They're not actually a loud pink. They're just loud because they're all kinds of, they're very patchworky. And I realized in that minute that I'd been in a rut all winter because I've worn a lot of the same things, same old hiking boots, same old this, same old that. And I saw these pants hanging there, and I actually did not get them the day I saw them hanging there. So I'll come back. It was this marketplace in Kyoto, and there they were again. And then I made a friend there. She got a big kick out of me dancing around in the pants when I tried them on. But they're like a light pink, but they're patchworky. I don't know how to really explain it. Like a kind of like a quilt with different shades of pink, and it's had these kind of sort of 3D seams that kind of stand up in between. Almost look like when you're flying over a farm. Those squares like that. Anyway, they're really cool. So I was inspired by Sarah Von Brednick today because, as you know, if you've heard different episodes, she often starts her little chapters with a quote. And so Alison Lurie is the author of The Language of Clothes, and she opens up her talk about the unspoken language of authenticity with a quote by Alison Lurie, and it says this: "To choose clothes, either in a store or at home, is to define and describe ourselves." I absolutely love that. And I tell you, this is making me think of a girl I went to high school with. Her first name is Julie. I haven't seen her in decades, but I loved how authentically she dressed, especially in high school, but it can be difficult to do so. Often we're conforming, even if we're conforming to being different, with all the different labels that you can slap all kinds of labels on teenagers and anyone. But often they try to do this thing, they try to swim upstream or whatever. She didn't do that. She actually made her own clothes. And they were so incredibly creative. And I thought to myself, even back then, we were in the same algebra class. And I thought, wow, the fact that she designed and created these herself, she did not match anybody else. Like the old words for goth when students dress in, black and all that stuff. That's just one label I'm throwing out there. She didn't do any of that. She just designed and made her own clothes. And I thought, wow, are you cool? You are so cool. And she stood out, and she was lovely, just inside and out. So this is kind of what we're talking about, is bouncing out of the rut and wearing something on the outside that represents more accurately our inside. Okay, so Sarah Von Brednick starts out by talking about that, most of us aren't in the place of, thinking that, when we're in a conversation with our own psyches or families, and, when we're getting dressed in the morning, that the outside world is really taking it all in. But this is what we're doing. We are having conversations with ourselves, even though we may not be conscious of it, and that the outside world is kind of measuring us up based on what we're presenting, and that is just the truth. And then, so back to Alison Lurie, who the quote was from. Alison Lurie tells us in her fascinating book, The Language of Clothes, that the vocabulary of our wardrobe conveys much more than we ever dreamed possible. Long before, and then she says, Allison says, long before I am near enough to talk to you on the street, in a meeting, or at a party, you announce your sex, age, and class to me through what you are wearing, and very possibly give me important information, in parentheses, or misinformation, certainly true, as to your occupation, origin, personality, opinions, tastes, sexual desires, and current mood. I may not be able to put what I observe into words, but I register the information unconsciously and you simultaneously do the same for me. By the time we meet and converse, we've already spoken to each other in an older and more universal tongue. And I think there's a lot to be said for what Allison says, how we're not even consciously making assumptions, and obviously that can be very, very bad. Somebody who teaches cognitive psychology, and my students become very aware, hopefully by the end of the semester, that assumptions are about the brain, which is very, very lazy. Whether you're lazy or not, the brain is very lazy, and is making assumptions because it's the way for a brain to make a shortcut. Okay, so that said, that obviously assumption making can really go south and not be good. That first impression, though, I think what Alison Lurie is talking about is very, very true. And we can immediately take our very best guess at some of this stuff, whether it's accurate or not, and kind of come up with, that first impression. All right, so the main point here is certainly not whether other people's impressions of us are accurate. As mind crafters, we know all too well that we're about winning from within and bringing all that stuff inside, right? It only matters what we think, not what anyone else thinks. So I just want to be super clear I'm not delivering the wrong message. Where I'm going with this, however, is to encourage authentic expression. Let the world know how creative you are. I'm thinking of my friend Julie in algebra class in high school. And I don't know all about, what class and all that other stuff that Allison mentions. I do know, remembering this stuff 30 whatever years later, or maybe it's 40 whatever years later, um, that Julie, I could tell she was smart. She was also well liked, a little on the quiet side, just because it was small enough school, not super small. It's New York, probably 800 people in the whole school, small enough. Anyway, and I know that she was incredibly artistic, and I'm also remembering at a fabulous 59 that at that particular age and life stage, she was really brave I mean, her clothes were funky. I'm almost thinking like Cosby Show funky, like just really cool pants and sweaters, and you could tell that she took stuff, she repurposed things to make them look even cooler. So the artistic expression, she was really, really, really expressing her authentic self as a teenager, which is amazing. And so that is sort of the point, to bust out of the rut and try something new, because it's healthy. It makes us happy to change things up. It really is just part of the whole well-being thing. And then we have the other things you talked about, the cooking and the music. You listen to the same old thing. Try busting out of there. Listen to some country western. For me, that's a stretch, I have to be honest. But, or just try something new. Try an entirely new recipe. Try a different ethnicity. Whatever. But the point is to really make room for some new clothing. Bust out. No one even says it has to be new. If money's an issue, go anywhere. Go to the thrift shop. If you're talented like my friend Julie in high school, make something. But it does make us feel good, especially when we've been doing the same for a really long time with gray clouds. And I actually call it the uniform. When my husband wears the same, it isn't different for me. I think I just have fun saying it to him, like, yup, the uniform, the same old few things, same old, he's actually been changing up a lot lately, but sometimes we just do that. So rather than dipping into the drawer, picking that same two things off the top of the drawer, um, try something new. Try something completely new. So, because Sarah kind of winds it up, we talk about when we are on this path to sort of discovering our authentic self. This is just such a wonderful, wonderful journey. Kind of involves some excavation. It involves some reflection, and it certainly involves a lot of creative expression. And she says that all this can be super exciting, and because we're beginning to cherish and channel our authenticity by the creative choices that we make. And we can also, she says, we can learn how to become sort of not only bilingual, but actually fluent in self-expression. And then she says, to wind up, as the famous French fashion designer Gabrielle Coco Chanel confessed, How many cares one loses when one decides not to be something, but to be someone? Well, this was a fantastic conversation about being in a clothes rut. I hope that you will, consider going out and getting a new outfit or making a new outfit or repurposing something and go out into the world wearing it right on the outside of you. Hello, world, I'm here. Okay, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off with little Giovanni from the beautiful mud season in northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.